James never believed in ghost stories. When he stumbled upon the old, abandoned house deep in the forest, he thought it was just another forgotten ruin. The trees around it were thick, their branches clawing at the sky like skeletal fingers. The air smelled damp and cold. He pushed open the creaking door and stepped inside. The floorboards groaned under his weight, dust motes floating in the weak sunlight slipping through shattered windows. The silence was heavy, pressing against his eardrums. At first, nothing happened. Just the echo of his footsteps. But as he moved deeper, James felt a cold draft brush past him. The kind of chill that wasn't from the weather. He reached the living room. The wallpaper hung in tatters, faded patterns resembling faces twisted in silent screams. On the wall, a cracked mirror reflected his pale face. He noticed something strange. The reflection moved slightly after he did, like a split-second delay. James shook his head. "Getting paranoid," he whispered. Then he heard it. A faint whisper, barely audible, coming from upstairs. His heart pounded. He told himself it was the wind. Yet the whisper grew clearer, more urgent. "Leave, now." He froze. The house felt alive, breathing, watching. He wanted to run, but his feet felt rooted. Suddenly, the lights flickered. The door slammed shut behind him. Darkness swallowed him whole. James's breath hitched as he spun around, fumbling for the door handle. It was locked. He yanked at it desperately, but it didn't budge. Panic started to curl in his chest. The whisper returned, louder now, but still eerie and distorted. "Stay with us." A sudden coldness wrapped around his ankle, like icy fingers gripping his skin. He looked down and saw nothing, only the cracked, dusty floorboards. The room began to shift. The walls seemed to pulse, breathing in and out like lungs. Shadows stretched and twisted, forming shapes just beyond the edge of his vision. Faces, pale, gaunt, eyes hollow, flickered in and out of the darkness. He stumbled backward, heart hammering. The mirror on the wall caught his attention again. This time, his reflection smiled, but James himself was frozen in terror, his mouth trembling, no smile in reality. The whispering grew into a chorus, voices overlapping, unintelligible yet filled with malice. James pressed his hands to his ears, trying to block it out, but the sound burrowed deeper, like claws inside his skull. In the corner, a small wooden box creaked open on its own. Inside lay a bundle of old photographs, yellowed and curled. James picked one up. It showed a family, parents, 2 children, all with eyes scratched out, faces blurred. A chill ran down his spine. The air thickened. The whispering became chanting. "Forever, trapped, forever." The temperature plummeted. His breath formed frost in the air. The walls closed in tighter. James dropped the photo. He needed to escape, but the house wouldn't let him. James's pulse thundered in his ears as the shadows in the room stretched unnaturally long, creeping along the cracked walls like dark rivers slowly swallowing every bit of light. The air was thick, almost suffocating, pressing cold against his skin. His fingers trembled as he dropped the faded photograph onto the rotting floorboards, the brittle edges cracking faintly. He swallowed hard, forcing himself to look around the room. The peeling wallpaper, once patterned with delicate flowers, now appeared grotesque, twisted and warped into faces frozen in silent screams. A spiderweb of cracks splintered the ceiling, as if the house itself was fracturing from some unseen pressure. Every instinct screamed at James to flee. But the door was locked tight, the cold metal handle refusing to turn no matter how fiercely he twisted it. He slammed his palm against the door, desperation clawing at his throat. "Let me out," he hissed, voice raw and breaking. The whispering chorus rose again, louder now, layering over itself in a dissonant cacophony. He staggered back, nearly tripping over a broken chair leg protruding from the floor. His breath came out in short, ragged gasps, visible in the icy air. Suddenly, the dim light flickered. The shattered windows rattled as if caught in a sudden gust, though the forest outside was eerily still. The mirror on the far wall caught his attention once more. The cracked glass distorted his reflection into a grotesque caricature, his eyes sunken, his face pale and stretched as if someone was pulling it taut. But then, the reflection smiled. James's stomach churned. His real lips trembled. He did not smile. A slow, shuffling sound echoed behind him, scraping softly against the wooden floor. He whipped around, but saw nothing, only the heavy shadows pooling in the corners. The cold seemed to seep from the walls themselves, chilling him to the bone. His skin prickled as the whispering shifted pitch, coalescing into words that gnawed at his sanity. "Stay with us, forever." The temperature dropped further, frost began to creep along the edges of the windows. His breath puffed out in small clouds, each one hanging in the air longer than it should. He took a hesitant step toward the stairs that led upward. The wooden steps groaned underfoot, but as he climbed, a sudden wave of nausea struck him. The air grew thicker, heavier, like wading through invisible sludge. At the top landing, the hallway stretched infinitely, doors lining each side. Every door was shut tight, but behind them, faint sounds echoed, soft crying, whispered voices, the scrape of nails against wood. James's heart hammered violently as he reached out to open the nearest door. The handle was icy cold, biting into his palm. He twisted slowly, dread coiling in his gut. The door creaked open to reveal a small room, empty except for an old rocking chair swaying gently, though no breeze stirred. A thin layer of dust covered everything, but the air inside was stifling. Suddenly, the chair stopped. Silence swallowed the room. James's eyes darted around, landing on a small music box on a cracked dresser. It began to play by itself, a slow, haunting lullaby, the melody warped and sour. A soft, childlike giggle floated through the air. He spun toward the door, but it slammed shut, trapping him inside. The walls seemed to pulse, the wallpaper faces turning toward him, mouths opening in silent screams that James could almost hear. Panic clawed at him, sharp and relentless. He backed away, heart racing, his breath ragged and freezing. The whispering returned, clear, urgent, chilling. "Join us." James's chest tightened with terror as the music box's eerie lullaby filled the cramped room. Each warped note seemed to echo off the walls, bouncing like a ghostly heartbeat. The rocking chair, still and empty, cast a long, crooked shadow that slithered toward him as if alive. He swallowed hard, eyes darting for an escape, but the door was sealed shut, its cold wood pressing against his trembling fingers. The wallpaper faces around him twisted and contorted, their cracked mouths stretching wider, revealing dark, bottomless voids. A cold sweat trickled down his spine as the whispers morphed into faint cries, broken sobs begging for release. Then, a soft, cold breath brushed against his neck. James spun around, heart hammering, but saw nothing but the thickening darkness that pressed in on him like suffocating fog. His mind screamed to run, but his legs felt rooted to the spot. The lullaby slowed, distorting further into a twisted dirge that burrowed into his mind. Suddenly, a faint glimmer caught his eye, something moving in the cracked mirror. It wasn't his reflection this time. A pale figure, barely visible, stood just behind him, eyes black pits, mouth stretched in a silent scream. He whirled to face it, but the apparition vanished like smoke. James stumbled backward, colliding with the wall. The wallpaper faces wept thick, black tears that pooled on the floor, creeping toward his feet like ink. The whispers swelled into an unbearable roar, the voices screaming, pleading, demanding. "Stay, forever." The temperature plunged further, frost spread across the floorboards and walls, tendrils of ice wrapping around his ankles. His breath came in ragged clouds as he dropped to his knees, desperate and gasping. The music box's final note shattered into silence. In the deafening quiet, a single whisper echoed directly in his ear, icy and intimate. "You belong here."